Great. I'd like to welcome you all today to Leadership Matters. It's great to have you with us again this weekend. And this is Straight Talk, actually. I'm Dr. Edward A. Addison. I always like to put the A there because there are so many of us. And this is Straight Talk and an extension of our program, Leadership Matters. In fact, today I'm super excited to be introducing Mrs. Angela Tella hosting today's program. She's been on my team and in my sphere of influence for the last 20 years of her life, if not more. And so it's a great honor to have her on Leadership Matters today, hosting the program. And she'll be hosting tonight's program on leadership and relationships. Leadership is all about relationships at different levels, both personal and professional. And Angela, with her esteemed guest, Adenyke, will be discussing this program and delving into all things leadership and relationship. So I'm going to kick my feet up for the rest of the evening, watch the program, and hand over to Angela as she takes over. Ladies, have a great time. It's good to see you, Adenyke, on Leadership Matters and on Straight Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much, Dr. Edward.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Dr. Edward. Enjoy the show.
I will. All right. Take care.
All right. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to Straight Talk on Leadership Matters. Like Dr. Edward has already introduced myself and our guest tonight. We are looking forward to a really good evening with you. We will be looking at relationships and leadership. And I'm obviously going to introduce my guest again. She is the rather amazing Adenyke Israel-Bolarinwa. We're really looking forward to gleaning from her experience. And we're just going to jump right in. But just before I do that, actually, I just need to maybe share a little bit about her credentials, what she's about, or even better, I might just get her to introduce herself. So go for it, Adenyke.
Okay, thank you very much, Angela, and thank you for having me on Straight Talk. What a privilege! I'm really honored. I'm excited to be here. I believe this is such an amazing platform, very, very timely. To be honest, at a time where we're all experiencing, a failure of global leadership. It's about time for us to start organically really talking about this topic and reminding every one of us we're all leaders and we're all here to make a difference. So I'm super excited to have a chat with you. Always a great time chatting with Angela. So about myself a little bit. Well, I am the founder of Building Right Relationships. This is a relationship, personal and corporate relationship management organization. We do a lot of work with individuals, with clients, looking at different areas where we can either develop and strengthen personal relationships or build corporate teams, work with senior leadership. I work as a coach to support individuals in developing the key competencies required to manage small, large teams. As part of Building Right Relationships, I'm super privileged to also lead a network of women under the overall organization called Esther's Preparation Room. This is a networking platform that is so dear to my heart. It's an opportunity for us to also develop women's leadership potential at home and in the marketplace. So we have so much activities that we do. We do so much work with different individuals, developing women, mentoring women. So I think I've joined a lot of those, aspects of, relationships and leaderships together. And I guess, I also get to consult a bit within the financial services industry. I'm a data privacy specialist. And I find that that's quite interesting. I've seen how you can weave issues around data privacy into relationships. So maybe as we go along, we'll talk a bit more about that.
Fantastic.
And sorry, I forgot to add.
Sure, fire away. Why not?
I mean, one of the, and maybe this would be a segue into our discussion. For me, leadership starts in the home. I'm married to a wonderful man, my husband, Adenyke Israel-Bolarinwa, and I have 3 lovely girls, all teenagers now. So my test of leadership is truly tested by my young ladies. But it's a great privilege. It's a great honor. And to be honest, that is really where your leadership skills are tested, and that's where it's developed. So I'm thankful for the family that I have, and I'm looking forward to a great session today.
Yeah, and it is going to be a wonderful session. And like I said to with the promo that went out, the promo videos and information that went out, I did say you were a lady of many hats, and you've obviously shared a few of those, or quite a few of them. And I really like how you've just started off with leadership being in the home being quite key, and that will just lead us right into the to tonight's session. One thing I do want to say to our viewers is, if you do have any questions, we're hoping to answer your questions a little later in the session. Please feel free to drop them on the leadership in the comments box and on the Leadership Matters 101 page, and we will definitely get back to you. So that's on Facebook, so feel free to do that, and then we'll try and do as many questions as we possibly can as we get to the end of the session. But sort of just jumping right in, then I've got a good number of questions for our guest tonight, and she's even started me off. I mean, the key thing that you mentioned is that leadership matters a lot in the home. So I would just want to start off with asking, so why do relationships matter? Why do they matter? And is it possible to actually lead without relationships?
Very good question. And it's very broad. So I'll start off broadly and then we can, pivot it. But do relationships matter? Absolutely. I use this phrase, life is made up of relationships. I think from the very creation of the first human being, Adam was created into a relationship. He may have been the only man on the earth for a while, but he was daily in relationship with God, as the Bible tells us. So I believe that if we go back to how we were designed to relate with each other. At a point in time, I feel that, even going by the biblical account of creation, a woman was made out of a man because God says it is not good for man to be alone. So we were not designed as human beings to be alone. We were designed as relational people. We're designed to find comfort. We're designed to find fulfillment. We're designed to find joy. We're designed to find, laughter with other people. And so it's so critical that when we understand this, you tend to find out that in most cases, the quality of our lives can be determined when we look at the quality of our relationships. I find out that, so many things people can look to fill their lives with things. Like we've all heard, the proverbial story of, no one on their deathbed had ever regretted spending more time in the office, spending more time playing golf, spending more time in the kitchen. In most cases, when it comes to the nitty-gritty, everyone desires to have spent time with their loved ones, with their family, with those that make a difference. And so I feel that, to your point, you can't really be a leader if you don't have relationships, because then you're by yourself. One. Number two, let's say that if you're leading people and you're walking, you have nobody following you, you're only taking a walk. So, a leader is also the very word leadership is defined by your ability to first govern yourself. And then when you do that successfully, you can find people that are willing to follow you. So I really would be bringing it back to say, when we even talk about leadership, we really need to start off by saying, what's the relationship I have with myself? How do I see myself? Do I have a good relationship with me? I know people who cannot look at themselves in the mirror for too long. They really do. They can look in the mirror just to make sure they spruce themselves up, but they can't look at who they are in the mirror. Some people don't like what they see in the mirror. And so when we even talk about relationships, I think it behooves all of us to think to ourselves, do I like me? Have I accepted me? Do I love me? Can I appreciate myself and my faults? And, what am I doing to develop me? So I think the concept of self-leadership, self-governance, and the ability to lead other people is very critical, very interrelated.
Yeah. So, I mean, wow, those are really important points. And I think one of the key things that you're saying is having a self-awareness as well, and then being able to govern oneself is a really key thing. I mean, there have been instances where, I mean, from what you're saying that relationships matter if one is to lead, but there have been instances where leaders have tried to lead people without relationship. So because leadership requires an investment in the relationship. So, you know, in essence, what you're saying is that if there isn't an investment in a relationship, then leadership is not something that can happen. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, Angela. In fact, you know, as you were saying it, I almost thought about it even to the highest levels of government in some of the countries that we're aware of, where people are jostling. You know, my husband always says something. My husband says leadership is about service. Leadership is about serving people.
I agree
You're
with that.
leading them to help to take them to a better place, a better future, to achieve a common goal. If you're not able to serve people, and serving is, I like that word you used, investing in people, that's service. It takes time to invest in a person. You serve people. If you're not able to do that and you want to lead, in most cases, people that do that want to lead by position. There are different hierarchies of leadership, and leadership by position is the lowest level of leadership. That is leadership whereby people listen to you because they have to. If you're a boss and you know you're only leading by position because you pay people a salary, there's no real profound respect. You're not influencing the people that work for you. They're only there as long as it's worth it for them. As soon as something else comes, they leave.
They're off.
That's why when I'm talking to corporate individuals, you know, we need to assess the different management style, but also their leadership style. Do you inspire people? How can you want to lead people that you don't inspire? Well, as I was going to say in the beginning, you find that in a lot of government officials in certain countries, my husband would say that if people really understand leadership is about serving, you don't fight. You don't almost kill somebody because you want to lead. The way people get into government in some countries shows you they're not there to lead. They're there to take advantage. They're there to try and quote unquote rule. They're there to, in most cases, steal from the people. And when I say steal not just financially, steal from their essence, steal from their service. Take from what you've not invested in for your own selfish gain. I think it's actually quite dangerous. And we see this in government, both in developing countries and supposedly developed countries. You know, but it's also very sad when we see this also in within the family, within the community. I think as parents, as friends, it is important to spend time not just asking people for their hand, but showing your heart and showing your ability to show that you care for them, you would nurture them, and you would not deliberately take advantage of them. I think if a leader gets this right, they go from just a positional relationship to where, you know, they lead by personhood, where the very nature of who they are makes people want to serve them because they've gone through different levels of service and of building credibility. You know, so you are absolutely right, Angela, that, you know, it's something else. It becomes bullying. Some people are bullied, you know, they're supposed to be leaders, but they are bullying others. They are there to massage their ego. You know, so there's so many things people call leadership today that has nothing to do with leadership.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things then, in essence, is like we've already said, the need to invest in relationships, and so leadership being about the whole essence of leadership, I say, is service. And it's just interesting then, because what you're saying is that if, you know, people go into leadership without the aim of serving, then it's a case of them being served rather than serving. And so the whole essence of leadership is lost, and it shows pretty much in their behavior and their attitude to whatever it is they're supposed to do.
Absolutely. Exactly. You know, and honestly speaking, I feel one of the places where we should best model this is within the church, really. I feel that sometimes we, and this is not, I attend a fantastic church. I know you do. Dr. Edwards, is an amazing leader creating this platform. Leaders like him appreciate and understand that the model of the church is a model of a leadership academy. I love to think of the work Jesus did with his disciples as a leadership and a training course that he took them through for just 3 years. And by training 12 disciples closely, but another, 500, and, even much more, there was 70, there was the 500. He was able to create such a strong vision as a leader. He was able to serve the team. He was able to provide for them, increase their capability, provide them with resources, give them a reason greater than themselves to live. And today, look at where we are. And I feel that that is one thing that, we need to revisit from a church perspective, that the church isn't really primarily supposed to be seen as a religious organization. I think we're living in a time where we need to pivot that idea, and we really position ourselves as the leadership development center of excellence, where everyone that is churned out of this, if you come in and you go through the processes we have here, you stand out wherever you are, you make a difference in your community. And I think that's the opportunity that lies ahead for us, even from that, from a Christian perspective, to really start to hone in on the importance of leadership and changing our society and our community.
Right. I mean, those are really powerful thoughts right there. So, I mean, in terms of, we've talked about the individual being able to govern themselves, being able to come into leadership with the whole heart of it being service. And I know earlier on you mentioned that family, starting in the home, that's where leadership starts. So my next question really then is, you are the host of your own talk show, the Relationships with Adenyke talk show. It's an interactive show, and on there you discuss issues and topics and their governance in light of today's culture. I want to ask you, or I'm asking you, what would you say are the most common relationship issues that you've come across? Just maybe one or two, or maybe the top three. What are the top three issues, relationship issues that come up whenever you've sort of been on your show?
Yeah. So, my slogan for building right relationships, which then really led to Relationships with Adenyke, is a phrase that I love that says, can two people walk together unless they're in agreement? For me, I feel this is such a foundational phrase for relationships, because at the heart of effective relationships is a sense of shared vision, right? We, Angela and myself, for those who may not know, have been friends since, if I'm correct, 1995 or 96, thereabout.
Yep, that's very correct.
When we met, and we've maintained this relationship through the years of, living in separate parts of the world and the rest of it, There's some relationships that when they form, they become lifelong relationships. And there's some relationships that they are seasonal. Now, a seasonal relationship is not bad, because it could just serve a particular purpose, right? And even if it's out of season, you could still have, certain fond connections and the rest of it. But there are also some relationships that it's what you would call it's a keeper, it's a lifetime. Why? Because you generally have a shared vision, you have a shared heart, you have very similar belief systems, you see the world from a particular perspective, you're able to enrich each other, you're able to speak truth to one another. I go back again to the mindset. You have a similar way of viewing life. You have a similar way of appreciating other people. And I think at the core of being able to lead people, either you're leading your family, you're even leading yourself. You can't lead yourself effectively if you don't have a vision for your life. If you don't know who you are and where you're going to, you would consistently make some decisions that may not be in your best interest. So for me, I feel that the ability to work in agreement comes from having a shared vision, and this can then be on multiple levels. So one of the things that I try and do with the relationship show, because I call it the governance of relationships, I bring, and this is where I was talking about bringing my professional hat in terms of my vocation, because when I deal with data privacy, most of the time what I'm dealing with is managing the risk of the breach of data, the breach of personal data. As we know, there's a lot of laws going on. We have the CCPA in the US, we have GDPR, we have all sorts of regulatory requirements now, because data is king. Data is the most important commodity now, as we've all seen over the years. So the issue of privacy is super important. Why? Because you want to protect, you want to mitigate the risk of how your data is used. So to mitigate that risk, you need to put in certain controls. First, you need to recognize the risk and put in certain controls. So if I bring it back to what are some of the key elements, I always bring this risk approach to relationships, that we should be governing relationships, right? So we need to look at it from, one of the major risks that I would say to a relationship is lack of effective communication. Again, you find this you can see it happen in families, you can see it happen at work, in our communities. Angela, to even make it to laugh about it, you can even have problems with internal communication. That's where I'm going to put it. I really believe that everything is about you, because I have
yourself. Yourself.
With yourself, because we all have to be very careful of the sometimes negative voices in our heads. Well, we have to be careful of, the voice that says you can't. This is too much for you. Say a particular position you want to go for. I know I can do this, but that voice tells you, are you sure? That voice is typically most times fear, right? So you, as a leader, you need to learn to deal with negative emotions, because it can communicate. Emotions communicate. So that's one aspect of communication. And then, of course, managing communication in relationships. My favorite in marriage. I love talking about communication, especially when I'm talking to dating couples. And it goes on and on and on. It's such a wide aspect. There's so many elements to it. But we have to think about, what's my communication style? People's personality tends to determine how they communicate. So being able to really address that, these are some of the key elements. And I feel communication works hand in hand with conflict resolution. So I'll make that the third one before I round up. Because at the heart of conflict is communication. What causes conflict is the inability of two people to clearly articulate the issues that are burning in their hearts. And poor communication can take an issue from level 0 to level 100.
Yes.
Such that the issue that caused the problem is no longer the issue. What they're dealing with is how they communicated with each other about it. So I think, these are elements that are super important, that as a leader, when you are also leading people, you need to look at your communication style. You need to look at how you handle conflict. What happens when your followers, people that are working with you, your teams, how do you manage that? How do you manage challenges when they come? They're not easy things to deal with, as I'm sure you are fully aware. You've probably experienced as well as a businesswoman, So those are some of the areas that I feel as a leader, it's also important to seriously hone in on and develop some core competencies in those areas.
Okay, well, in fact, that just takes me to my next question, which is because one of the key common relationship issues that you've come across has to do with communication. So, with regards to communication, it's obviously, from what you're saying, it's really crucial in building quality relationships. So, what can leaders do to develop their communication skills, and what other skills or abilities does an effective leader require?
Yes. Angela, is so interesting. I like that question. I like I always say, if I'm going to use wear my Esther's preparation room hat, I don't always feel I've been the best leader. I mean, I feel that God has so blessed me with amazing, amazing women. who he just put a love put a love for me in their hearts, so they bear with me with my mistakes and my errors. So one thing I would say I've learned through leading, we call it EPR, that's the short form. I think my communication skill as a leader gradually improved the better I was able to listen.
Great. Fantastic. So listening.
Yes.
Listening.
Okay. As leaders, and you know me, I'm feel ideas, I'm juggling, you'd suddenly see me in the morning. There are one or two of my leaders that they know me. I can send them 5 paragraphs. Hi, what's up? I had this idea, boom, boom, boom. And then I end up by saying, sorry, good morning, hope you're okay. All right, then. I just go right out there. So there's some that they don't need me to say good morning to know I wish them good morning, I just pour out. But that can also have its setbacks, because I found myself being so much on the go that, and as leaders, we have to be careful, because by virtue of the fact that we lead people, there's a certain power that we have. There's a certain influence that we have. And it's not up to us to expect people to say, oh, you can tell me anything. It doesn't mean people will tell you anything. It's not enough for you to say, feel free. If you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to challenge me. I say that and they know I mean it, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I need to then listen by saying, oh, Mr. PM, that's not a bad idea. But I'm just thinking, and sometimes as they're saying, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, my mind has said, nope, and I'm ready with all the reasons why what they're thinking is wrong.
Yeah.
But I've missed very critical guidelines. I've missed some critical ideas that could have come out of it by being too quick. So I'm not too good at it, but I'm learning. And I feel that it really goes a long way as a leader when people feel heard. They trust you better. And so that's something, yes. And as we started growing, I mean, we started EPR with maybe just a handful of us. Now we are hundreds, and we know that our influence goes beyond even, as many of us as we physically exist. I've come to find out that part of our strengths are the things we've done that came from other people, ideas other ladies had. If I was to be the sole person thinking it through, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I think for me, listening, and the other thing I would say it's been helpful is I really try to verbally appreciate and praise and try and use my words carefully. I believe as a leader, and I try to balance this, because when you lead a non-profit organization, you're not paying, the people are not being paid, right? So it's one thing to say, we need to do A, B, C, D, and can you get it to me by 3 p.m. start? Not all the time, right? People get to certain leadership levels where you can say that to them, and because of their maturity, they can do that. But some other people, you need to, do you mind? Is it okay? What's your day like? If you can't finish it, let me know. You have to still manage it and build that up. So I find that the ability to juggle those two is critically important. As a leader, you have to be direct where you can. You have to also push people to grow, but at the same time, you must be sensitive to their needs. Learn to praise people, learn to appreciate people, and then learn to understand people's love language, even as a leader. What stimulates certain people? There's people that just by saying "fantastic job, thank you" is great, but there's other people that by taking a moment to lay aside all the activities we need to do and say, "So what's up? What's going on with you?" That to them is quality time. They just want to chat with you. They just want to unwind, unburden themselves. So it can be tough when you're leading different people, but at different points in time, I think these are key things that has helped me, in addition to a whole lot of other things. But it's not always easy. And I always say this, hands up, haven't always gotten it right. But we're all learning, right? Leadership is a journey.
It's a journey. It's a journey. And also, just listening to you, there were a few things that came to my mind, like when you were talking about praise. The thought that crossed my mind was that, human beings made in God's image respond well to praise.
Absolutely. That's true.
Praise and appreciation. And also when you were talking about listening as part of a key element of communication, there were two thoughts that crossed my mind. One was, you know, when it says in the book of Mark, when Jesus was saying, it says, be careful how you hear. So there's that listening element.
Yes.
And also when the Bible talks about, you know, be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Yeah.
So those are the things that crossed my mind, you know, when you were speaking. And then also, even in terms of listening to people and giving that time and the space for them to maybe offload, that's part of relationship.
Yes.
You know, so much so that by the time you've given that individual that sort of space, time, opportunity, you find that in terms of managing them, they are more on the spectrum of you ask and they do, rather than you having to, you know, kind of. So it's really interesting, you know, how relationships work. You know. The next question then is, so you know, do a leader's own personal relationships affect their ability to lead? So for instance, if you know a leader's relationship in the home, you know, let's do that, because charity begins at home. So it doesn't really matter what title or position a leader has. If, let's just start at home, are they leading at home, and does that matter?
You know,
the ability to do whatever it is they're meant to do outside the home.
Yeah. Very simple question. So simple answer is yes. Does their personal relationship affect leadership? Yes. Complicated in terms of the spectrum, and I use this word. I'm going to use the word in two ways: wisdom, which is really prudence. You know, there's an element of wisdom that's required.
Right.
I think there are times when the leadership style that we embark on, that we utilize as women, has to be different from a man's leadership style. I feel inherently the husband is the head of the home. And of course, this is based on our biblical standards. I can say that very clearly. But if I remove the biblical standard out of it, I would still say that in any relationship, there has to be balance. In any relationship, I find it very interesting. I mean, we all go to work. We have a boss. We have, you're the boss. You run a business. You have employees. You automatically expect some level of decision-making process in place to make sure that things work. So when I talk about the head, I talk about it primarily from that ultimate decision-making process and the responsibilities that fall around it. The things that people call the man is the head is not always, a lot of times I feel is more cultural than biblical. Because I feel if we just go, again, the leadership style of Jesus, who ran an amazing leadership academy for 3 years, he says that if you must be the head, you must serve. If you must be so whoever is the head is serving. And we don't see a lot of serving in the homes, right? Now, most times we see a lot of commanding, we see a lot of, assumptions of who should do what, but if I step back a bit and look at it, that, part of what makes in a marriage, especially in a home, what makes a husband a strong leader is the ability to love, nurture, serve his family, to care for them, to appreciate that God has made me a steward to lead them. And any home where you have that sort of husband, by default, everyone, falls in line, So it's a very typical sort of leadership style that it's easier for men. If I bring your question back for women, sometimes we need to modify how we lead effectively. Because at times there's the expectation that although you are a leader in your corporate world, in your NGO, in your career, your business, your way of showing leadership in the home is different. Because sometimes you have to be more in a supportive role. But I feel that even within that supportive role, you're still a leader, mirroring to your spouse, to your children, what a strong, intelligent, I'll call it independent woman should be. And I use the word independent from the perspective of you are whole. That's what I mean by independent.
Yes, we definitely need to clarify. We need to clarify because that word has
you could be a liability to your spouse. right? Because what a spouse needs from a wife isn't necessarily, oh, I need my wife to also work to make money. Sometimes a spouse needs a woman who, a husband needs a woman who he can talk to. A woman who might be at home, but if he has any problems, she's intelligent enough to engage with him. Not everybody wants a wife that you can't talk about. I might not be interested in everything you're interested in, but we must be able to hold some basic conversations. I must have my own sense of identity, because that's the value I bring. It makes communication richer. So that's what I mean by that level of independence. I'm not depending on my spouse that, I'm unhappy. If he doesn't crack a joke, I wouldn't smile. The house wouldn't be, so there needs to be a level of independence that you have that everyone can enjoy. And I think at home, that helps you build your own personal leadership skills. But I feel that a woman then needs wisdom. Because where you have a more outward leadership gift or ability, you need to be able to manage that. And sometimes, even with the best of your ability, let's keep it real, right? Because this is straight talk, right?
Yeah, it is straight talk. Go for it.
Let me go back to, because I'm going to have to pivot to examples I give. I find it's so important when I'm talking to single women that they identify their purpose before they get married. In fact, I always say to single women, it's critical that you don't accept any man's proposal of marriage until you know who you are. Your purpose should guide who you choose to submit to. Your purpose should guide who you're going to be married to. Because as you know, Angela, both of us at the age of 20, 21, 22, who we were back then and who we are today, although different, but a lot of the things we wanted to do is the same. Angela, remember back in the day of, praise God, Trinity Chapel, we would have, talk shows and we'll be doing stuff and all of these things. We knew, we felt it, we knew what we wanted to do. We were lively, we were doing stuff on campus, we always, you always knew what you wanted to study, you always knew what you were passionate about. Over the years, it's changed, but you've developed your voice in addition to your relationship counselor, for example. But you are not counseling now. Right from then, you were counseling teenagers. So what I'm trying to make is that when you know who you are, you can then grow with the right person. When you don't work on a relationship, you sometimes find years later a woman who may have gotten married because he's cute, handsome, biceps, triceps, fine car, nice zip code, postcode, all of that good stuff, nice career. But you get to a point where as you define who you are and you identify who you are, if your spouse isn't comfortable with the picture of who he thought you would be, when you want to stand out as a leader, you may face resistance, limitation, or lack the support. So it then becomes frustration because it looks like, oh, is she leading in the family before she tries to lead outside? But that's why I said the answer is yes, but it could also be complex. Because you could genuinely be in a position where you have what it takes to go out there, but you're inhibited by where you are. And so wisdom is needed. In some cases, wisdom might be you pause some things for a season. In some cases, wisdom might be, how do you negotiate? How do you go to some level of therapy or counseling to gradually bring the other person on board? In most cases, how do you deal with the fear? Sometimes it's just, this is ridden by fear. If she's doing all that and all that, how do I know this doesn't happen? How do I know that she wouldn't have? So sometimes you have to deal with the fear that exists and you can't rush those processes. So that's why I said that it could be a bit complex, because sometimes some women are doing fantastic jobs, but they may not be supported. They may not have the home support. And it's easy to think, oh, she's out there, but she's not managing her house. But it just could be that, there are other complex situations. But in every situation, wisdom must prevail.
Definitely.
I know that was a very long process. I hope I didn't.
No, I think, like you said rightly, this is straight talk. And we just need to, fire straight and say it like it is. Because I think one of the aims of this platform is to, to deal with those situations, those issues, talk about them, not shy away from them. And, just go straight to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for that explanation. Thanks a lot. So we're just going to move on to the next question, and in fact you hinted at it right at the very beginning, because my next question really is, just a bit of a statement first. So leadership is a reciprocal situation. If there are no followers, then there can be no leader. Rather a solitary walk towards a vision. And I was thinking, when I thought about this question, I was thinking about what you said, where if you want to know if you're a leader, check out whether someone is following you, because if nobody is following you, then you're just taking a solitary walk. So the question now is, how can one lead in such a way that people would actually want to follow them or be led by them?
Interesting. If I can speak from experience,
definitely.
And honestly, EPR, I would call it, fell on my laps. That's the only way I can put it. It wasn't something I was working towards. I was all about relationships and just trying to to talk on that area of passion, supporting singles, supporting young married couples. That's my passion, helping them work through those first 5, 6, 7 years. That's very challenging. And so I got the opportunity to speak in different, places. I would go, invited to cities in America, sometimes in Canada. I've had the opportunity to speak on different forums.
Yeah.
And then you find out that at the end of it, you're sort of counseling people afterwards, talking to people afterwards.
Yeah.
And you start to identify very similar issues. As a leader, I feel part of what would help navigate you to your area, to your niche, to your market, are the issues that catch your attention and catch your heart. I was burdened by primarily issues around broken relationships and very broken hearts. I was burdened around issues of abuse, taking advantage of people in relationships, and I was very burdened by women who, obviously, would love to be in a long-term relationship, but maybe it just hadn't happened yet, and sometimes going through this phase and this season where they kind of feel like, they are detached from friends who may be married and no longer married. I found out that apart from dealing with relationships as a whole, in particular, those areas when I counsel, I felt a sense of not just responsibility, I felt a desire to intercede. I felt a desire to pray. I felt a desire to really do something, counsel, or to be there and to support. So I think that as a leader, the issues that tend to touch your heart is a sign of what you're called to do.
Right.
There's things that bother others that don't bother me as much. There are things that people would say it's a pain point for them that may not be a pain point for me. I feel that once you start to identify those sort of things, or you listen to the news, I know somebody that there are certain things that when they talk about it on the news, she will just cry. She'll just be like, especially when anything that's thrown in, once she sees anything about a child suffering, it just breaks her heart. She is so gentle, but she's the sort of person that when she hears of child molestation, you see her face changes. She's so gentle, but at that point, if the molester is in front of her, she will kill the person. She has strong emotions about that. That's a sign. So once you start to identify your passion, then I feel that as a leader, where can I serve? That's the first thing. Where can I support people? What can I do? Can I join an existing organization, maybe help to promote their cause? Can I raise money? Can I volunteer? Like for us in EPR, we started just praying together to just address these issues, and we decided to start a 1-year program, and that's where the name Esther's Preparation Room comes from, actually. We used the model of Queen Esther in the Bible, that before she was presented to the king, she had to go through a 1-year purification and preparation. So in 2013, we did that 1-year program, and we split it up into key aspects of a woman's life where she needs to be whole, healed, and receive vision. And just by starting off with, maybe with, I think we reached out to about 9, 10 women, before you know it, By the time we had the first call, it was maybe 13 women, then 17, then 20, then 35, and it started. And so over the years, as we've continued, the vision grows. So I think as a leader, you don't see everything. You don't see the end of the journey, but you see the issues that you're passionate about. You go and you want to make a difference, and you look for, who can I serve? Who can I help? When people see you're genuinely willing to help, they'll come alongside you. All the women, most of the women, 80% of the women who are on the forefront are women that joined us within that first 2 years. And they've been here this 8th year. And they've just stayed. And they do phenomenal things that I could not afford to pay them. Some of them are doctors, some of them are PhD holders. These women are established, they're married, they have kids, they have families, they're running their own businesses, they are lecturers. Women from diverse backgrounds are running this network for other women to be attracted to it. And so your leadership first starts with how you serve. And I think when you start to really serve, then people would naturally follow you. Because not everybody wants, a lot of people, I know people who have just said, and I don't need to do, you don't even need to put me in front anyway. Just put me here. When we have a conference, you don't see them in front. They are at the back. They are the engine room. So people like that want a strong leader, want a confident leader, want a leader they can trust. And they buy into the vision and they support it. So I think those are the critical elements, I would say, to make sure that you end up not taking a walk, but instead you move. You become a movement, making a difference.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thanks for that. I mean, one of the things that you said that caught my attention, I mean, everything did, but one of the things that stood out was the issue, that word service. So it's about, emotion. And what I was thinking about was, you mentioned passion, and I thought about the word compassion. So you're able to serve when there's a passion. You're able to serve people when you're passionate about them, and that really is compassion, coming alongside them, isn't it? So and it goes back to some of the things we said earlier about the whole essence of leadership being service. So great, thank you for that. I mean, it's been great so far, and I just want to remind our viewers that any questions you might have, please put them in the comment box on the Leadership Matters 101 page on Facebook, and we'll hopefully get to answer your questions. Thank you for everyone who's put comments in so far. Thank you for that, and going with us on this journey, on this session. So you've mentioned Esther's preparation room, and I think we should just touch on that as part of my next question. So it's a global prayer and professional networking platform for the modern Christian woman who seeks to find purpose, relevance, and self-actualization. And what EPR does is it provides an environment that fosters wholeness and meaningful relationships. So my question now is, so how does EPR actually prepare women for leadership?
Wow. Okay. That's a test.
Go for it.
So with EPR, we've grown. Our foundation was, we started with prayer. The prayer platform we talked about was supposed to be a 2013 prayer platform. In December, we had a banquet, and that was supposed to be it. Everybody go your merry way. Praise God, I've done what I should do. And then I felt so strongly in my heart that no, your work isn't done. I'm like, what's next? I'm not a warrior prayer intercessor type thing. And I felt, go on with it. I'm like, for how long? And but what's been amazing is that through prayer, we got vision. Through prayer, our eyes opened, not just our physical eyes. We got illumination. We realized that we would pray about issues and feel convicted afterwards that, so what are you going to do about it? We would see stuff going on. We pray for countries. We pray for leaders around the world. We pray for issues around the world. We pray for the church. And then after we're like, so what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? And the same passion. And that's something very powerful about our prayer platform that's very unique to there are all sorts of women's network out there, career network, professional networks, fantastic work they're doing. I feel that we being vocal about what makes us unique is really what our strength is. because I believe strongly that in the place of prayer, you're able to really see things. You get illuminated. And by the way, that's the title of our conference this year. You know,
let's put that right there.
you receive illumination. And when
Yeah.
a person is illuminated, your eyes open and you see who you really are. So we started to see who we were, that my goodness, there's so much more to us. We're not just here, to just do the mundane. We're here on assignment. And if we're here on assignment, how are we going to make sure we're empowered to do what we're here to do? We all don't know how long. Nobody can really say, oh, I came into the world, I have 67 years plus 9 months and 48 days. Nobody can say that. But we do know that we have a purpose. So the earlier we run with it, the better. And for us to do that, we need to become the woman who is able to confidently and boldly go into the marketplace and make a difference. We call the marketplace wherever it is that your skills and your abilities can be deployed, right? And so that made us think about, how do we develop ourselves? So how do we not just develop ourselves, how are we getting the right relationships? I always teach on something, called who's on your personal board of directors. Who are the people influencing your life? Who are your mentors? Who are your coaches? Who are your accountability partners? So all of that got us to a point where what started as a prayer platform now fleshed out into a Christian professional network platform that we have 4 objectives. And we always say it easily. We pray, we lead, we network, we mentor. We pray, we lead, we network, we mentor. We honed in on what makes us unique, because we feel prayer is where you get your spiritual leadership. And it's on the back of that you build the confidence for your personal leadership. And when you're able to personally govern yourself, lead yourself, you then come into the right company of the right sort of women who think like you, act like you, women like yourself, Angela, in this professional network, enriching ourselves. And as we have all become successful in our various endeavors, and I use the word successful because, we keep growing every day into different levels of success, we have a responsibility to mentor a generation that's coming. And so this framed who we were as an organization, framed our purpose. And, so when women are saying, tell me more about it, it's a combination. I always say it's not a church, it's a movement. It's women with their portfolio, their assignment coming together to make better progress, take faster strides using, the power of unity, the power of shared vision. So that's really how EPR has become a leadership development platform for today's modern Christian woman.
Thank you for that. Thanks a lot. So, there are lots of things that you touched on in your response, and it just then takes me on to the next question, because so far we've been talking about how leadership is about service, and it's about in relating with people, we're meeting their needs, we're developing their leadership potential, which is one of the things that EPR does, and in turn, that then benefits the organization. So it's almost like a feedback cycle, isn't it?
A loop.
Feedback cycle, a loop. Yeah. So it kind of goes around. So yeah. So from your experience, would you say that relational leadership is an effective way of meeting ministry goals or visions? And how has this worked in your role as the executive director of EPR?
Relationship is paramount. Like I said before, we are a non-profit 501c registered organization. In the UK, we are a non-profit organization. We have been in existence since 2013. We run annual, monthly webinars, weekly prayers, annual conferences. In 2019, the conference we had, the emergence, took us from our niche, which is primarily in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And we actually had a conference also in London, in the United Kingdom. We had a conference in Lagos, in Nigeria. And for each of those conferences, there were people on ground. There were people that were working and serving because they were a product of relationships. It's literally, you can't, and it's not just because we're a nonprofit, you can't run any successful organization today without being relational, without, understanding the importance of people. But more importantly, we haven't grown this way because I have relationship with everyone in EPR. We've grown because I have relationship with a lot of people in EPR, but the leadership under me have relationships with ladies in EPR, and the leadership under them have relationship with other ladies in EPR. So what I'm saying is that people join, and you just see in our on our group, hi everyone, say hello to Sheila. I don't know who Sheila is. I've never met Sheila before. In some cases, Sheila hasn't said any word to me, but Sheila is very much a part of what we do. Why? Because somebody invited Sheila. So even it's not just about you as a leader having relationships, it's you being able to inspire your team to understand the importance of developing strong relationships, to leverage it, to get your team to buy into the vision, and they take it upon themselves that I'd like someone to come join EPR, not because PN asked me to, but because I feel I now have a personal responsibility to say, look, we're doing something fantastic here. I'm a part of this organization. I'm going to pull the ladies around me. And that's how we've grown, very organically. Our numbers may not be hitting off the roof, but we are consistent. And I feel that what brings us together is an area that most people don't see as, super fancy: prayer. We are just a bunch of women who are intercessors, and we do so many other things from that, because we are, we're corporate women, and so we also believe in the power of prayer as well. So I know I've said it in different ways, but Angela, honestly speaking, even you are a testament to that. You have your own, you do your own counseling, you have your own organization, you're doing so many things, but you're a part of the network, because you bring so much value, you bring so much insight, you bring, a lot of investments you're bringing in for the younger ladies, and it's that. We really want it to be a place where every woman can express her gift and her ability.
Great, that's fine. That's wonderful. And one of the things that we've touched on, obviously, is that as human beings, we are relational, and it then brings to bear the point that being relational, then we are people with emotions. So since emotions are very much a part of us, and they're neither right nor wrong, as leaders, how do we manage our emotions so that the relationships that we have can remain authentic, healthy, they're strong, enabling us to make a difference in the sphere, in our sphere of leadership, would you say?
I don't even remember this book. Was it by James Dobson? Emotions, Can You Trust Them? Can you remember one of those old books?
Yes.
Yes, I do remember. I look at them from, that book had to do with, relationships and falling in love, and we all know how emotions work. But, as a leader, I've learned to embrace, you have to, your emotions are a part of you, right?
Yes.
And I think you used the word I really like, that we're now at the point where people want to see authentic leaders.
Yeah.
I dare say one of the reasons why some people love the president of the United States, because the people that love him. You may not like anything, they love him. Why? Then he's authentic.
What you see is what you get.
He's authentic in being rude, maybe. He's authentic in being naughty. He's authentic in being bad, but they feel like we know where we stand with him, whatever that means.
Yeah. Right?
What
you see is what you get.
Yes. Now, I don't like what I see, and I don't like what I'm getting, but for some people, they actually put a premium on that. Some, and I think that if we step back and remove the politics around it, it's important to really look at it. People talk about the base. And I have to ask myself, as the church, can we be so clear as the base? When I talk about the base, the kingdom base, can we really be clearly identified? When people say the base, it's an acronym, it's a way of saying certain, there's some words that describe them. For some people, they even call it fanatic. But even Christ they said the zeal of God's house has consumed me. Are we fanatical about that kingdom, about that base? And so our emotions as a leader plays into who we are in being authentic. However, we must also appreciate that people seeing us as human beings is critical. Some leaders want to be seen as super this and super that. I always try, where I get it wrong, I try and get it wrong. Where when I'm angry and I say, I'm sorry, yesterday I was angry, I shouldn't have been. It makes people trust you, because then they know, okay, they can see you for who you are. However, I think a leader needs emotional intelligence, though. It's not enough to have emotions. Emotions can also derail you if you're not mature enough as a leader. You can be swayed on multiple sides. There are decisions that you make as a leader that those who are following may not agree with, but you must stand by the principles guiding you. And when you make a judgment call, and it's wrong, you need to be able to self-evaluate.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, because I think we lost you for a little while there, but if you can just do a recap.
Yes,
I know what you were saying was good because you seem so animated.
Oh dear.
So go back.
But I think I really wanted to stress the importance that while it's important for leaders to embrace their emotions, it serves them well. The more matured you are in understanding those emotions, you used the word, Angela, I really liked at the beginning. A leader must be self-aware. Self-awareness goes hand in hand with self-governance. Being aware of, when you're moody, being aware that, when you're not in the right frame of mind to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
Being aware of when you are not happy with your team because you feel they're not performing or they're not, operating as they should be. Being able to pause and revisit and listen to hard truths that may be coming from them. These are all different. These things bring up different emotions. And I think your maturity as a leader to handle it, which is what I'll talk about, your emotional intelligence, is super critical. I would summarize it that way. But as a leader, you can't be unduly swayed by emotion. You must be able to stay focused. You must be able to, for me, one of the things I try to do is, as a leader, is how do you turn negative emotions and negative situations around? Sometimes we have our conferences. I mean, my team, they would have done a fantastic job. Sometimes, when the conference starts, you're all about the numbers and the rest of it, Sometimes, you've done everything and the mic is acting, I'm all for excellence. I want things to be boom, boom, boom. The mic is acting up, the sound, the band. I'm like, at that point, I'm frazzled, And it's happened to me before where literally the look on my face just showed that, I was upset. And my darling, one of my darling leaders who, does stuff, she was so upset, I didn't know, but she had gone out of the room and she was crying. She felt she had let me down, she had disappointed me. But at that point, and then I knew, I felt in my heart, number one, the Holy Spirit convict me. I get out of this behavior. Are you here for, who are you? Who are you trying to tick the boxes for? Who are you trying to show that you know how to put things together? That's vanity and that's pride. Sometimes you have to thank God that even though things don't look as they should, everybody is still being blessed. And I will go back and tell the team, I'm sorry. I know, yes, I know. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I made you cry. Forgive me. This is that, I was able to correct myself, fix that. And that's something I've learned now. It doesn't mean I don't call for excellence. Why is that? Why is that there? We shouldn't do that. Can we tell the keyboard, blah, blah, blah. But I've also learned to not let myself be overwhelmed when things are not falling in place. We need to turn it around. So these are things that as leaders, our team will be exposed to, and our ability to help them and support them would only improve their would improve the way they see us, because they see us being vulnerable, but they also see us being, like you said, authentic and real, and the ability to say, I'm sorry. It's critical for us as leaders.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you would say that, because in essence, yes, we have a vision, yes, we have a mission, we have goals, but never at the expense of our people. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So, and in fact, that really sort of moves us to the next question very, very well, actually, because the next question is about the fact that many leaders start off with good intentions, but then we often hear that things go wrong. So as a leader, I mean, we've just talked about the fact that emotions can derail us. So they're good to have, but we should never be led by them.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. So as a leader, how can I ensure that I do not abuse my position of leadership to serve my own ends or boost my ego or confidence, rather than working for the good of those around me? Because that, that example you gave, and then what you said after that just leads us nicely into this question. How? Because, I mean, one of the things that you said was, who am I trying to please? And it's very easy. Like I said, people start off with good intentions in their leadership journey. And along the way, I mean, we hear stories, this is straight talk after all. Let's say it straight. We hear stories of they began, the way they started is not the way they ended.
Yeah.
So how do we as leaders ensure that we're not abusing our position of leadership in order to, boost our own ego?
Yes.
Build our own empire.
I know, right?
How do we do that? Because it's very easy. It's very easy to kind of deviate. So how do we do that?
I'll try and keep it to 3 key things that jump out to me. The first one is keep first things first.
Okay.
As a leader, keep first things first. What is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Must always be the driving, And I try to remind myself that I'm performing for an audience of one. I try to remind myself of that, So it's not so much about the outcome, the physical outcome. It's important, but it's not so much about the physical outcome. It's who you are at the end of the day. It's not just what you do. I feel that's super important for everyone as a leader. And I feel that that's important to God. Who you are is more important than what you do.
Yes.
Your relationship with him is more important than the work you do for him. And so when you put him and your relationship first things first, he's able to get your attention when you're derailing, when you're going off course, which we're humans. It would happen to the best of us. That's just how we are, And then for me, the second thing is, I remembered what it was and it just flew out of my head. So first of all, keep first things first. One thing that I would say maybe before, I'll say the third, hopefully I remember the second, what I was going to say, is accountability. As a leader, if you don't have somebody that can speak into your life, that can call you to order, then that's a problem. I have, different relationships, and over the years, I'm submitted to different people, but it's not especially when it comes to some ministry activities, it's not everyone. I have my pastors, I have, leaders. It's not everything you tell everyone, but over the years, a couple of years ago, as I got more involved in ministry, I started thinking about it, and I have somebody who we would pray together a lot in those days, those tough days, those days in ministry and the rest of it. And we said, we would talk about things we were seeing in terms of leadership and especially in the church. And we said to ourselves, we must always have somebody, no matter what, who, if they ask you a question, you cannot lie. It's a sister friend of mine. She's also a pastor. But we agreed amongst ourselves, God forbid, Angela, God forbid. But the worst thing you could do, no matter what, who can you tell? And she's one person I can tell, and that's who I am to her. So she would literally call me, she has a way of calling me, so I try not to say it because people know it is. She will call me that way to say, I've come to report myself. Please let me know when you have a minute. And then we'll just talk. Something that happened in the ministry, the way she acted, I would call her and I'll say to her, are you praying for me? Because right now, this is what's going on. Yeah. So I found out that and we can call ourselves. I can literally ask us certain questions. Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? Because we prayerfully gave each other that platform of accountability. This is, of course, in addition to our spouses and our pastors. But we also said, and I'm being very real, if there's ever anything you're so afraid that, my goodness, I can't even tell my spouse, let's know that this is where it stops. We took that relationship such that you have a safe place, that because part of the problems of what people, you said something, we hear of people today, we don't hear of them tomorrow. In most cases, the sin or the errors or the mistakes leaders make is not what typically brings them down. It's the cover-up. It's the lying to self. It's the repeating patterns. It's the not having somebody who doesn't care about your title, who can really give you the best advice, love you, support you through it. That's what makes people spiral out of control. And thank God, thank you, Holy Spirit. I just remember the second thing I was going to say and it's because of the leaders. One of the biggest dangers for us as leaders is when our platforms grow bigger than we do. Our platforms grow faster than we do. When the opportunities that come our way because of our gifts from God, first things first, our abilities propel us into a place that we've not grown to manage. As a leader, Angela, I thought by now I'll be an international speaker, called everywhere. Adenyke Israel-Bolarinwa, I've been to your conference. My goodness, you should listen to her. She's amazing. I thought by this age, that's the kind of, no, go and pray in the back end. Stay there. Know what I mean? Because, yes, because I know the plan. I know God has a great plan for my life. I know everything's there, but I have to be able to do it for an audience of one.
Yeah.
And he then has your timeline, so that whenever and wherever he exposes you to, you're not an embarrassment to the kingdom. That's always my prayer. That as a leader, God, help me never to bring embarrassment by your grace to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so a leader, that's sometimes what happens, people grow faster. They have all these airs around them. They want people to do this, carry my Bible, drive me around, because a lot of people are now serving you. You then start to take, inappropriate actions and steps and start to mistreat people and the rest of it. You're getting more favor, but you're not growing. You're getting more exposure, but you're not developing yourself. You're not creating value. You're not remaining humble. So those are some of I would say those are the three things that it's important for all of us as leaders on any level to be consistently aware of and to create controls. Remember when I talk about controls around that?
Yeah. Wow. So, in essence, have a safety net. And I like the fact that you said it could happen to anyone, really. There's, it's like, when the Bible says, he who thinks he stands, take heed lest he fall. That scripture wasn't there just because the Holy Spirit felt, well, let's just chuck that in. That is the reality. And then the key thing also is character. God is interested in our character, and somebody was saying, don't go where your character won't keep you. So
absolutely
the process, God's process is really about getting us into character so that when those opportunities come, we can, handle the opportunities without being an embarrassment, like you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That's great. I mean, we're kind of now we're now in the home run now. Is it the home straights? And one of our viewers has made a comment and said, a safety net is so critical.
Absolutely.
So accountability.
Yes.
And I think actually you're quite right that many times, and I like what you said, it's not even what went wrong, it's the cover up. That's what then causes the problem.
I don't know if you remember, we're doing one of the shows, like Angela mentioned, I have on my YouTube channel, Relationships with Adenyke, the talk show, and we have this spin-off called My Take. And so we're doing, a conversation on secrets in relationships. And, this is so, I felt to say this, please pardon me, just very quickly, that maybe something in the leaders that are, because I know they're all leaders listening to us right now. We all make mistakes in life. We're human. And that's why Angela, asked the question about how do we manage emotions? The emotion of, when your spouse lets you down, when your child lets you down, when your best friend isn't there for you, when you expected them to be. These are all emotions. These are all things we face. But we need to be so careful because they are decisions we make out of fear. They're decisions we make that, allows us to be trapped in a secret. And you have leaders, religious leaders. I mean, straight talk, the expose that came out of, Liberty University, supposed to be the foremost university for Christians. That's where we're supposed to have trained leaders, And so whatever the situation or the challenges are, it might be exaggerated, it might not. However, if once a challenge has been identified, once a weakness has been identified, the ability to be accountable. As leaders, we must be careful in this season that we are in. And that's why I love this platform to really call out the need for leadership, especially in the body. That we're so concerned about what the big names would think, that the ultimate name, the most important name of all, we ignore what he thinks. And it's really driven by fear. And it's really driven by at a point when people get so big that they feel they can cover up with finance and with power and with authority and with relationships. And it's very detrimental to those coming behind. So I think, just this, your last question it's so critical. It's almost like the most important question when it comes to leadership today and what we can do to prevent that and to avoid that as well.
And, the thought that just crossed my mind right now was the need to we've said it, to be humble. And there was someone who actually encapsulated that thought really well. And they were saying that just remember that even though you're a leader, you're simply an errand boy or girl. You're just an errand boy or girl. So you need to, that's basically it. So the need for accountability, that need is, and particularly, like you said, the days we're living in, there's such a need for accountability, humility, particularly as certain opportunities will become available, or God will make those things available to us. So we need to make sure that we are grounded, our character is where it should be. And like you said, put first things first. That should be the focus, because God himself is more interested in our character, who we are, than what we do.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
And it's a daily thing, right, Angela? It's a daily thing. That's why, of course, I know people say this, leaders read and, all of that. But, leaders, we need to continue to fill ourselves up with the right words, with the right books, with the right messages. I remember when I was a much, much, much younger Christian, going to church with my family. I remember, I was still a teenager, and the pastor was preaching about Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Is it Potiphar's wife, right? And it was whatever that sermon was. I'm sure my young ears were just all over the place, too busy thinking of what I'll do. But I can never forget the phrase that says, be careful what you say about people and how you judge people, because until you meet your Potiphar's wife, you don't know if you're going to run out naked on the street. In other words, there are situations that happen in secret, opportunities, liaisons, and entanglement opportunities that present itself, and are you bold enough, that even at the risk of because Joseph's reputation took a hit for something he didn't do. And so, but it takes a lot of personal development to even take the hit as a leader for some things that people set you up for, So we're back to set you up in a negative way. But I believe God always justifies and God always reveals truth. But can you stand under that scrutiny of light? And we have to keep pushing. We're not there. I'm not there. So daily, I think leadership happens daily. I don't know what sort of leader I'll be in 5 years' time, but I know what sort of leader I will be today. And I know that tomorrow, again, I'll know what sort of leader I'll be, because the choices I take every day determines the sort of leader I'll end up being in the future. So rather than focusing so much on what's ahead, I focus on the here, the now, this moment, and every day ask God for the grace to take the right decision, to love those around you, to serve, like you said, Angela, those around you, and to always, always, always perform in front of an audience of one, whether you're at work, in your business, whatever you're doing. I mean, there are days at work where I'm just irritated and God say, you have such a bad attitude. You have 3 hours left. What have you done today? And I'm being very candid. Now, it might be a light day for everybody, but, I will still feel that, what have you done today? How are you managing your time? So it doesn't matter where, this is COVID season, right? I haven't been in the office since March, and I'm not going to go there till next year. So it takes leadership, even for all of us, to churn out and to deliver and to excel on our jobs, because we're not performing in front of the boss or anybody else like that. We perform in front of an audience of one. We must work with excellence. So leadership impacts every aspect of our lives, and we must develop daily to be a great leader.
And just to tag on to what you just said regarding that whole taking a daily perspective, I just thought to myself that leaders die daily. Effective leaders die daily. That scripture that says, I die.
Oh my goodness.
I die daily. So effective leaders die daily to self.
Yes.
Because of the audience of one.
Yeah. And that's a tough one, in fact, that you said. That's a very tough one as well. Die daily to some lust, die daily to, to your own agenda at times. It's not easy being a leader.
It's lonely. It can be lonely. Leadership is a lonely place, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
That's absolutely. A lot of people may call themselves leaders or hold quote unquote leadership positions, but they're not. And it takes a crisis to reveal, let the real, like I think T.D. Jakes wrote a book, Will the Real Man Stand Up, or something like that. It takes a crisis for you to say, will the real leader stand up? And I think, just, on the back of everything and today's, I think that's really what 2020 has done. Will the real leaders stand up? And I think that we all have that opportunity now, wherever we are, in our homes, at work, in our community, with our friends, we now all have the opportunity to stand up as leaders and hold ourselves to our highest, to be our highest, to be our best, to be the best of who we can be, and I think that's what 2020 has really done for me, at least.
No, I think you're very right, actually. And in fact, that just leads us very nicely to the last question, because it is about 2020. So in essence, to summarize everything we've talked about so far, leadership is a privilege, and it can be summed up in just one word: influence.
Yes.
And so, each of our viewers, it has the opportunity to influence in a way that reflects the leadership of Jesus. And that brings alive the words, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So, as we wrap up, what encouragement or advice would you give to our viewers, as they pursue those words in their daily life, particularly given the current state of the world, and we've seen a proliferation of uncertainty. There's been a lot of upheaval. So what advice or encouragement would you give our viewers as we wrap up today's session?
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Angela. Honestly, this has been such a wonderful use, or I would say the last couple of hours has been wonderful use of my time, of my day. I've been so blessed, and even your questions really has caused me to reflect. Because as I speak, I'm also listening. So even some of the questions and some of the things you've said has really resonated with me. And I think you gave me the answer. Thank you so much. The last thing I'd like to leave to everyone is understand that you have the power of influence. You're consequential. That's a phrase I've been using. I had a Christian minister say that recently, and it struck me. Says, you're consequential. You're here for a reason. You matter. You matter to God. and he has a plan for you. So no matter where you're at in your life, you are important and you have influence. You have influence as simple as if my friends would say, if we're in the same space and we're doing something, what do you think? What do you think of this shoe? What do you think of that shoe? I'm making this as mundane. What do you think I should do on my hair? Do you prefer this or that? Does this hairstyle look better? Does that? That is still influence to a large extent. We influence our children. We influence our friends. We influence our colleagues. We influence on our jobs. We influence everywhere we are at. Once we are aware that, especially me now speaking to women, with me, this applies to everyone, but if I bring it to, I feel there is I feel the power of influence. Let me use it this way. I feel a woman has a greater percentage of the power of influence.
Okay. I wonder how our male viewers might be feeling right now.
Everyone, that's why I said everyone has influence.
Yeah.
But I feel that influence is something a woman wields in a very different
way. Okay.
In a very unique way. I mean, both good and negative. I see some. You see some women. They don't have to be loud or strong. But when everybody is quiet, you can always talk. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And she's just quiet. Okay. And then everyone goes and she says, do you really feel that this? Sometimes the power of that influence is with the secretary. You can all be in a boardroom, have all the powerful guys all talk about stuff and the rest of it. And it could just be the CEO's secretary that says, I remember, you had a meeting with this person and they said this. Do you think it's a wise idea to do this? I never thought about that. She might not be in that room, but she has influence more than the director of marketing and director of this and director of that. I'm just giving that as an example.
Yeah.
So I just feel that I want to encourage everyone. Some people have used it, some women have used it in a very negative way, but I really want to bring it from a whole, truth, pure perspective. I believe very strongly in the scripture that says, unto the pure things are pure. I say this to say that in addition to all of us using our influence as women, our influence over our children, over our spouse, with our friends at work, our ability to use our quiet strength, our confidence, the way we can project ourselves, our compassion, our empathy. You can be a very strong corporate woman. You can have different types of personality, but I just feel that when a woman needs to get something done, she knows. And just look at it with children. Look at it when it comes to you can scream, you can shout. When that child is not listening, a mother will find a way. And by the time she's done, that child will be like, it's the same. You know what I mean? And I think that that if we embrace that a whole lot more, it doesn't matter whether a man or a woman, and we use that deliberately to make a difference in changing policy, in changing laws, in changing unfair regulations, in not paying lip service to inequalities and disparities, in saying, what can I do? Where can I donate? Where can I make a difference? It's time for us to stand out as leaders and be counted from where we are. Where you are is a platform. No matter what size, it's a platform. I believe that, if I will leave everyone with anything, look for how to influence the lives of others with the platform that you've been given.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really nice note to round up on. And I've looked through, we don't have any questions. So this must have been a fantastic session. It's definitely been wonderful engaging with you and listening to you and hearing what you have to say on leadership and relationships. And I also want to thank everyone, all our viewers, for joining us tonight on Straight Talk. It's definitely been an honor to have you online with us tonight. And I'm sure you'll join me to thank Adenyke for sharing this evening with us. And we will definitely have to have her back sometime again in the future. I'm already looking forward to that. Now, just to also say that Dr. Edward Addison will be back on Tuesday, the 13th of October with Leadership Matters and an interesting panel of guests. And they will be discussing leading by understanding, leading by understanding the prophetic. That's a bit of a mouthful, which would obviously mean taking a closer look at the office of a prophet and the prophetic ministry. So please make plans to join us again on the 13th of October. Also, do follow Leadership Matters 101. That's the Facebook page. And, on there, you'll find past interviews, which you can watch again. You'll also, we also put up-to-date information of upcoming events and programs and more sort of leadership and content on leadership. So you can also look out for, we have like a bite-sized leadership clip. So you can look at that, look at quotes and just things to help you, other materials to help you on your leadership journey. So share the page with your friends after you've joined, and like Adenyke was saying, it's a journey. Leadership is a journey. So once again, thank you once again for joining us. And Adenyke, have a great evening.
Thank you.
And actually, on that note, we've got a comment that says, "Great session, awesome session." Thank you, our wonderful viewers. It's been a real pleasure. I've enjoyed myself, and I know she definitely has. And see you again soon. Don't forget, 13th of October. And we'll be looking at the prophetic ministry and understanding the prophetic. Yeah. Take care and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you, Dr. Edward. Thank you. Bye.